We got double.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Hey, I'm Bob Murray. This is Delaware Valley Outdoors. We're springtime fishing, catching a couple little fish. Bob will catch some more. Stay tuned. It's going to be a good one. Yeah, I picked them right off of that thing. There you go. You almost had one too.
Delaware Valley Outdoors, your best source for fishing information on TV, radio, and the internet.
Come here, baby. Come here. Oh, another fish. Hey, I'm Bob Murray. Welcome to Delaware Valley Outdoors. I'm fishing with my good friend Warren Brady. Warren, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Bob.
We're trying to get a little bit of springtime bass fishing. We had some warm weather. We got a full moon. We're going to see what we can do. It's springtime. The temperatures haven't got as warm as we'd like, but I think we should do pretty good. Warren, this is the first time you've been on actually tidal water bass fishing, am I correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I fished the tidal river for stripers and for catfish, but this is actually my first time on any tidal water for bass.
You got a couple of things that you want to look for, especially down tidal water. And that is, the marinas are basically going to hold the fish. Fish are going to move in here to spawn, and they're going to look for something warm. We've had a couple of warm days, but we really haven't had a consistent warm spell. So the fish are still a little lethargic, but what they're going to do, they're going to move up to anywhere where they can get a degree or two of warmth because they're cold-blooded animals. So what you want to do is you want to start looking for, well, we have a bulkhead in front of us. Behind us we have docks, and the bases are black on those docks. And a lot of times, with the sun being as warm as it is today, it'll warm it up right under there. And this fish will just horizontally just move up, and they'll sit right under those docks. So a lot of times you have to look under there, and you'll see fish just laying there, and you got to pitch to them, but you'll be able to catch them. What you want to do is just work each one of these little pilings, because the fish are just going to lay up there, and as the tide moves up, they're just going to move horizontally with it. And then when the tide drops down, they'll move down. Same thing on the boat docks out here. But it's a lot of pitching. There's not too much really throwing big crankbaits or spinnerbaits in here, right? You know, in these areas. So it's a lot of pitching, and you can use a jig. I'm using a super sinker, Durstein super sinker. Color-wise, I still like, right now, just use dark blue or what do you have, a green or a
Watermelon.
Yeah, watermelon color, something like that. I just like to drop it right next to the bulkhead, and the bulkhead is metal, so it's going to warm up, and then you have the wood there too, which is going to warm up. And you want to pick it apart. You really want to take your time and hit each piece of structure as it is. In between each one of those, just let it drop.
Now, Bob, how close or how far from the bulkhead or the piling should we be casting or pitching?
It depends on what's underneath. Remember, I spoke a little bit about, obviously this is tidal water, so there's stuff under that. So if you have a bulkhead that has a big drop off next to it, you want to drop it straight down. So some of these bulkheads will go down 6-7 feet right at the edge. So you want to pitch it as close to that bulkhead as possible. Other bulkheads have a little bit of a silt or something in front of them, so you don't have to be as accurate. But the fish, like I said, the fish will move up on the little humps and stuff like that. So you want to pick it all apart. So yeah, a pitch of maybe 6-7 feet as far as length goes. You don't have to be really, right on top of it like you're fishing out of a tree or something like that. But that's what you really want to get to, as close as possible, and just let it drop in there. I think that's one of the things that makes the super sinkers and little worms like that make it so easier to catch fish, because they drop in so quietly, and because you're right on top of the fish. And this fish will just come out and watch that drop real slow, and they'll just pick it up. They really don't know that it's been pitched to them, so they'll watch it, and as it slowly sinks, they can't stand it, and they'll just whack it. We'll be back with more tidal fishing right after this.
This is the hand that sows the seed, that grows the forest, that drinks from the stream, that hugs the mountain, that gives shape to the wind, that carries the kite, that is flown by the child, that is loved by the woman, that toils at the job, that gives to Earthshare, that supports the hand, that sows the seed.
All life is woven together. How can we choose which environmental cause to support? Earthshare, the workplace giving program, makes it simple by bringing the leading environmental groups together under one umbrella. Support Earthshare, and you support them all, including the hands that sow the seeds and protect the forests and the streams and the children. To learn more, please visit our website.
Want to feel appreciated? When you spend time with kids, anytime, it helps prevent crime.
Each year, thousands are senselessly killed by people with no criminal record at all. People like you.
One, you can see we're on a metal bulkhead now. And again, obviously the sun on it, especially this time of the day, warms it up a little bit, and those fish will move up on it. One of the things I mentioned before was you have different depths on bulkhead. Right in front of us, we're probably sitting in about 5 feet of water here, but right next to that bulkhead is about 7 foot. It drops down, really, it's a real good drop off there. So that's why you want to look and really take your time, do your homework sometimes, and just study that. Use your depth finder and find that stuff, because those fish, again, they're going to find the deepest water, and they're going to move up and down horizontally on it. And one of the things that they like is just a deeper set of water. It's right in front of us. Right behind us is probably 2 feet.
Yeah. It's amazing how just a few feet away that water temperature can change a few degrees.
Yeah. Right along this edge, it's 7 foot, and we're in about 4 foot. So you gotta, that's the thing you gotta watch out and really pay attention to. Well, here's another prime example of some great structure. Whether we're talking about springtime, but summertime, fall, you just got everything that a bass needs. You got deep water in front of it, and you got all that cover up in there. So, I mean, there is some nasty stuff. That's why you got to use a little heavier line down here. You can't be getting away with no 4-pound test, because you can see what you're going to be pulling a fish over.
Oh yeah.
So you want to concentrate on this, and that's why I always tell people to come down, especially in a tidal system. I grew on the Delaware, but you can do the Potomac, Susquehanna, any of those that are tidal. Come down at low tide and look what's under there, because when you come here at high tide, you'll never see any of this. So you want to be able to see this and almost visualize it as you're on top, you know, as you're looking down on it. You say, I know where that structure comes out. It's a deep point here, deep pocket there. You'd be surprised. I know we mentioned that a lot of times these pilings stuff get fished pretty hard. That's how you fish them that's most important.
Is it just because that it's structure period, or is it that it's a certain type of structure that holds the fish?
It's a combination of both. Sometimes you'll find fish that'll hang on the wood, which we have. Sometimes you'll find fish that are hanging off the rock, and sometimes you're going to find fish that are hanging off the metal. So you have any kind of a structure you want. The fish are going to have the choice of it. Certain fish just like certain things. Now, one time you'll come in here and you'll find that all the fish are going to be off of wood. Next time you come in, you had to find rock. And so that's what you want to do, is to to get a combination of both. Plus, you got to have the deep water out front.
So we just have all the makings for a great spot to hold fish.
And they'll move in and out. That's what's so great about tidal water. You can come here, fish it for half hour, 45 minutes, catch nothing, come back in 45 minutes and catch 3 fish.
Wow.
Because fish just move in and out. What we're catching here a lot of times, especially in this time of the year, we're really getting the little males. And that's what we're going to find. You call it bank runners, whatever you want, but a lot of these males are just starting to move up. So you're going to go through a lot of these little fish before you catch some bigger fish. But again, he hit that baby brush a good shot. So you just never know which bite you're going to get. You're going to get a fish like this, or next one could be 3 pounds. But most of the time it's going to be these little males right now.
Now, generally speaking, is there a set time frame as far as how far behind the smaller fish that the bigger females start to come up?
Again, we picked what I would consider, most people consider an opportune time. We get a full moon tidal. It's going to bring the fish up. This is April. It's spawning time, so it basically gets dictated by the water temperature. As soon as that temperature comes up a little bit more, the females who are out deeper. Now that's why we're fishing here. Like I mentioned, we're fishing to 8-10 feet of water. Those fish, the females are going to be in that deeper water. The males are going to start moving up along the bank. It's a nice warm spring day here. Water temperature rises a little bit, the fish are going to come up. But basically you're going to see the male fish come up here first, looking to spawn, looking for make the beds, and then the females will come up. But it's just basically dictated by the water temperature. It's still cold. But now we found some 50-degree water back in here, so we should do okay. We have a set of pipes that actually, this is like a peninsula here that lead to another piece of water on the river. And when the tide changes, the tide comes through those pipes and creates a current. Well, you know as well as I do that bass like current. Blows the bait fish by them, and they have someplace to ambush. The other thing that this spot has made is a big kind of a basin where right at the pipes is probably 12-14 feet. Even at low tide, it's probably got 10 feet of water. So in this whole area here, the fish will just move into that deeper water when the tide's real low, and then as the tide turns, it comes up, then they'll start moving down along these banks and feed because the bait fish will move along. So it's a really good spot. You have a lot of interesting types of structure because you go from the riprap, which we have on our left, to this, just like a gravel bank, and then you go back over. You got some logs laying in the water and stuff like that. So it really creates a lot of different pieces of structure that you would really want. And don't forget, this is low tide. That tide's going to be up into those trees, so you can see how the fish are just going to move up. And they like to come back in here, especially in the spring to spawn, because it's nice and warm back in here. You can see that.
Now, Bob, I know you were saying earlier when we're fishing around structure such as all these wood piles and rocks that you would use a heavier test, I guess, than normal. What would you say would be ideal in this situation?
Well, if you're flipping what we're doing, you can use some of the super lines if you want, the braided lines. I at least 15 to 17 pound test. 20 pound test because you're throwing, you can see what you're throwing in. It got spikes and you got metal, you got a lot of vibration, and you should always check your line because you're always banging into stuff. You'd be surprised how many times fish are broken off. It's not the fish was so big, it was the fact that you had a nick from throwing it up into the rocks and bouncing it, so you should test it. I have 20 pound test on here. That's what I'm throwing on this spinning rod. And with the new lines, Warren, 20 pound test, but it has a diameter of, say, an 8 pound test, So you're not really throwing a big, heavy piece of rope out there. It's thin, but yet you got the strength. Because you catch a nice fish, you can wrap you around one of these things, you're going to have a heck of a time, getting it out.
I can picture it now.
But also, the rod that you're using is important too. You can't use a real wimpy rod. I got a pretty good, this is an old Fenwick that I use. It's fiberglass. I like it for a variety of reasons, but it's got a good butt section so I can really set the hook on a fish. If you're using a light spinning rod with a light action, you're not going to be able to move the fish. And this fish is going to take you back in there and break you off quick.
Now, what about rod length? I mean, would you use
6.5, 7 foot, depending on, how comfortable you are. But you need something with a good backbone on it. That's the thing. And I like the fiberglass because it's a little forgiving because we're throwing, the sinkers and maybe brush hogs and stuff like that. So it's actually, pretty much of a finesse type bait. Just letting it drop real slow and that kind of stuff. You're not casting it a country mile. So you want something that the fish can take up, and then you can reel up, take up the slack, and then set the hook, but you still have a nice light tip to pitch it.
This is the hand that sows the seed, that grows the forest, that drinks from the stream, that hugs the mountain, that gives shape to the wind, that carries the kite, that is flown by the child, that is loved by the woman, that toils at the job, that gives to Earthshare, that supports the hand, that sows the seed.
All life is woven together. How can we choose which environmental cause to support? Earthshare, the workplace giving program, makes it simple by bringing the leading environmental groups together under one umbrella. Support Earthshare, and you support them all, including the hands that sow the seeds and protect the forests and the streams and the children. To learn more, please visit our website.
Each year, thousands are senselessly killed by people with no criminal record at all. People like you.
You can hear the beep a little louder.
The JATES program has helped me so much in the outdoors.
For a long time, I didn't even know what conservation even was. I want to do my part for wildlife. I love being a JATE. Whether you hunt or not, the JATES program has something for everyone. I know I'm doing my part for wildlife.
I really believe children hold the key to the future of wildlife.
And NWTF believes it too.
Warren, you have the
hit?
Yeah.
Have a spot like this, there's a point that comes out here. You really don't see it. You have to be down here at low tide to know that it's here. But you gotta fish this out a little bit farther. You'd be surprised what fish you'll catch out here. It's amazing. It's just a point that comes out and then drops off into this deeper water. Yeah, a lot of these males, just moving up here, these females are just behind them. We're just a little. There we go. Warren, you see what happens when you eventually, bigger fish come out off of these points. And again, what we're doing, that fish was way up in there, and the boat was pushed out a little bit, and I was just dragging it, bouncing it off, and there's some structure up in there. And that's what happens. A nice fish right there. Nice female getting ready to come up and spawn. She took it right in the side there.
That's a nice fish, Bob. That's a little bigger than the first few.
All right, nice fat fish here. Like these females now are just starting to move up a little bit. It's warmer, it's in the day, later in the day. These fish are gonna move up. Woo! I like when a plan comes together. Males just coming up along that edge, Warren.
Yep. Maybe sometime soon we'll have a couple bigger females come up to it.
Yeah. Nice fish here.
Yeah.
Another nice fish. Warren, isn't it something when you just run into a school of these fish like that?
There's nothing like it. Especially when they're a little bigger.
Yeah, you know, when you get fish like that, they're just, get this out of here first. Killed. You get back in these little pockets like this. These are all just tore up. See them, huh? The
Yeah.
tails and stuff. All tore up. Nice. They're fat, chunky fish, though.
Other one? All right. Another little male running alongside the bank.
Where'd you catch it? Right off of there?
Right off of that little spout.
Uh-huh.
Comes out into the water. A little bit better fish.
Yep. Right off of that bank.
Right off of the bank. You gonna open up? There we go.
Another little male.
Little bank fish. Yeah.
We're here at the tackle box section, Warren, and baits today were pretty simple. Pretty simple baits. We had plastics going on. A lot of times, you know, you might want to use a spinner bait. You had one tied on. I had one tied on, but the water conditions and the weather conditions just weren't right for us. We're fishing early spring. We're in tidal water, and it just called for plastics. Now, you started out this morning with a Senko, and you had a nice fish on it. Came off of that log, and we thought we were ready.
Yeah.
We were pumped up. It's the first fish. Again, you had it rigged.
Texas style.
Texas style rig. Again, it all depends on how you prefer it. I like this to wacky fish it. A lot of guys do that. A lot of guys will Texas rig it too. But down here, it depends on the water conditions and the weeds you're fishing in. Wacky style is going to get caught a lot. Texas rig, you're fishing a lot of junk, so you don't want to get hung up. So that was it. Again, this your favorite color?
Yep, watermelon.
Yeah, watermelon is the. Now you had some fish on this one, this bait too, right?
Mm-hmm. That's a watermelon colored Senko with a chartreuse tipped tail.
And you got a lot of bangs on the end of that. That one thing you know that there's fish around. They'll give you that telltale little tap. You had some fish tapped onto this one too today. Again, you Texas rigged it again.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Now, the two baits that I went to are my standard baits. Warren asked me, this is my confidence bait. It's a Zoom baby brush hog, and two colors are my favorite. I think I have three colors, but the two colors that we use today are any combination of that green watermelon pumpkin seed. This has a little bit of a glitter, green glitter in it. The root beer colors, I don't care. As long as it's the 4-inch one. I like the shorter ones, and I was fishing that on a Magatsu 4-aught hook, a big hook, and we kind of got interested in that because the hooks you were using this morning just didn't have enough bite.
Yeah.
I think for that bigger worm, so we wanted to go for that. And then the other color was just a darker avocado color of a green. These are baby brush hogs that are put out by Zoom. A lot of companies make a variety of variation on this. I just have the confidence. Matter of fact, we were talking a little bit about that, the confidence in a bait. We're Texas rigging this also because we're throwing around docks, piers, wood. There was some nasty stuff we were throwing around. So you did want to Texas rig it. The only other bait, again, Warren, that we would want to talk about is a spinner bait. And that's, again, this is my Durstein spinner bait with, it's a 3-bladed bait. Something I just kind of like. It kind of looks like a minnow going through, a school of minnows going through water. This color here, especially down here, you've noticed, because this is the first time you've actually been down in this type of fishing. Digi water, tides moving up, down. A little bit of chartreuse. I have a gold blade here with some silver here, and this iridescent kind of a white skirt. Looks like bait fish, but you also get a little bit of chartreuse to do it. And that should do it. That's easy bait too, because you're just pitching that along and it's fairly weedless too. So as far as terminal tackle goes, I think we talked a little bit about that. You need a spinning rod down here for throwing some of that stuff.
Yes. We were using 6.5 and 7 foot poles. I believe you said you were using a fiberglass pole?
Yeah, an old Fenwick fiberglass pole that I used. And now we've talked about it, but we'll elaborate just a little bit. Some of the rods, the graphite rods that you had, load up quick. And you were seeing that you felt the fish.
Felt the fish.
And the rod reacted quick.
Pulled the hook right out of his mouth.
Right out. With that old fiberglass rod and David Fritz and everybody's going to the crank and sticks, fiberglass reacts slower. So when you're fishing there, you can let the fish take that worm a little bit, bring it up. But you still need a good hook set on the fish, so you get a nice light tip, but the butt section's nice and strong, and you see we can do pretty good. Well, that's the tackle box. It's pretty simple in this time, right?
Yeah, pretty easy.
We're going to probably go catch some more fish. I know that.
Let's go do it.
You know, if we're on tidal water, don't forget to stop by the website, DelawareValleyOutdoors.com. Tides, wind chart, anything like that, send us an email. We'd like to hear from you. Warren, you know, you get into these little back shots here, and what happens, the fish, we got deep water in front of us here, and the males and the females actually, they're getting back in here to spawn. But you get up onto these banks and these back coasts, because we get out of the wind, it's a little windy today, and the fish will just stack up back in here.
Now, is that the main reason why? Because it's out of the wind and because they have the structure on the bank?
They got all the structure that they want back in here. And it's got everything they want. They got the rock, they got structure, they got deep water, and it's just made for them. Because what happens in here, one of the things that you got to remember, that fish need at least 2 feet above their heads to spawn. So even at low tide, they want at least 2 feet over. This is what they have back in here. No matter how low the tide gets, they're still going to get 2 feet. Wait a minute. Here you go. I got one. Okay. That's not good. Well, Warren, I want to thank you for coming on the show today. We just caught some nice fish, springtime bass fishing on the Delaware River or anywhere else. Catch a lot of little males and stuff like that. Hey, I'm Bob Murray. I'll see you on the water. Don't forget to go to our website, DelawareValleyOutdoors.com. Fishing reports, weathercast, tidal stuff, stop by. Hey, email, give me a fishing report. All right, Warren, there we go. Another male.